Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Remnant podcast. It's a thing I'm going to be doing as kind of a flagship to this podcast. I don't know if it's going to be a personal log or if the personal log is going to turn into something else or if, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. The Remnant Podcast Network. The first podcast on it will always be, I don't want anyone to dispute this, the Story to Screen podcast. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. This is Joshua Ling, by the way. Uh, I just wanted to go through a few things while I talk here. Few quick stories, give some people some background on myself, but also just some inspiration for creative people. Um, I have been recording things in audio for a long, long time. My family has a connection with audio and has had it for a very long time with our mobile DJ company, which currently is on hiatus at the time of this recording. The things I wanted to talk about in this first episode were, my own creative impulses and things, but more so just creative impulses in a general sense with people because I don't want to talk about myself completely, but I do think that there is some value in some of my experiences, so I want to bring those to people. Um, Let me go ahead and start off by saying I was the kid who one year got a tape deck for his Christmas present and a whole bunch of blank tapes. And I recorded and re recorded over those blank tapes over and over and over and over. All kinds of different stuff, all kinds of different, just goofy, fan fictiony radio dramas with my siblings and anyone else I could get their voiced on there. Um, and I think it's been ridiculous that it's taken me this long to get into podcasting. Um, I think it's such a weird medium where all I have to do is get my RSS feed sent to Apple, and I didn't know how to get everything connected between recording it. Well, that's not true. Between everything between uploading the file, which I could do up to that point, and then everything, but I could do that and post it and do all kinds of things like that, but I wasn't sure how to get it to iTunes. And so I had a long time just learning that and figuring it out because it's not a very straightforward thing there, and there are a lot of different ways you could do it. Um, I've always enjoyed doing audio. I've produced one full audio drama with different voices and things, and I've also always had a knack and a drive to tell stories. I remember being little and drawing picture books for mom and stapling them together, actually wanting to try and create a book for her. I think it was Mario or something like that, Mario and Luigi and Yoshi on an adventure, right? Um, and there's always been that kind of drive in me. I've made a lot of videos over the years. Video is great, but I really my heart has been in the stories themselves, and it's stories that I can't necessarily tell without a big budget from Hollywood or something. And of course, I really don't want anything to go of mine to go into Hollywood, especially right now, because I'd pretty much have to give up the story in order to get it made, and it would be something ridiculous. I really want to go a self-publishing route of some sort, but I'm not a book guy. Uh, when I grew up, I I'm not going to say I hate to read, and I don't think I've ever really hated to read. I like to read. The problem is I have a kind of dyslexia where it's not word letters and words backwards. It's the connection between the information on the page and the my imagination and the creation of the images inside my imagination. I create those images much quicker if I hear the information rather than just see it. And so Adventures in Odyssey has been a big help throughout my years. I'm a huge fan of Adventures in Odyssey. Any kind of radio drama. I've recently gotten into some Doctor Who stuff, The Shadow. Um, there's just so much good radio drama out there. But then it comes down to, well, do you really have the time to produce all of that when you should be, writing these stories? And yes, I want them to sound good. I want them to sound awesome. There's so many things I can do with that, but I feel I really feel that the my expertise and the way I want things done uh is an episodic, uh you know, creating a world and sticking with it, and sticking with the characters and moving the characters around, and basically creating a sandbox to play in. These worlds where these characters live and breathe and eat and sleep, um, and go on adventures. Um, I'm hoping to, instead of full cast radio dramas, use my audio editing abilities and use my vocal talents to create some various, almost like audiobooks, but not quite. They're going to be more scene oriented. They're not going to be very long, but they're going to tell episodic stories. I'm gonna, you know, basically chapters like in a book, and those chapters will translate to a, 5 to 10 minute audio recording, and people will be able to download it through podcast form, hopefully, and also listen to them on YouTube, because I still think, while I love podcasting and I love the medium and I think it's very freeing, I think YouTube is very good for search results, and for people to kind of have some community, especially if they don't have a device where podcasting is easily accessible and easily downloadable. Uh, Even though you can do it on a computer, I have to admit there are times where it's not fun. Excuse me, fun or time. Uh, it doesn't feel fun to sit at a computer and listen to something and do nothing else. You usually have to be playing a game or whatever. But with a podcast that's on a mobile device, or you have wireless headphones or something, you can actually walk around and do chores. You can clean your room. You can exercise. You can do whatever. And I think that's one of the great things about podcasting. I actually am at a day job right now where I am listening to podcasts almost all day long. I obviously have to listen to other people. I have Bluetooth headphones, thankfully, that allow me to have a pause button on there so I can pause the podcast when anyone starts to talk to me. And I just pull the headphones down around my neck. It's really nice. Um, but yeah, so I'm gonna do these stories and things in their own podcasts in their own form, and people can subscribe and enjoy. One of the ones that I'm planning on for mainly for the main one I want to do for my stories, I'm actually going to be doing a lot of different um, uh, things on it. One, I'm going to well, let me just say this. I'm probably going to be calling it something along the lines of the Five Worlds of Joshua Ling. Something very, almost storybooky in that way. I like storybooky things. And four of those worlds are have been in my head for a long, long time. The first world is superheroes. Essentially, it's a superhero world. The second world is a world involved in professional wrestling. I've been a fan of professional wrestling since I was 3, and I think there are a lot of Rocky-esque stories that I can tell within a sports but soap opera esque environment. The world of Lactia, which is a sci-fi world. And then the last one, I shouldn't have even said World of Lactia. Now you know what it is, but okay. And then the last one's going to be a fantasy world, very reminiscent of a Tolkien or Lewis kind of. Honestly, more Lewis, more Narnia. I'm a fan of fairy tale-ish kind of things. It'll be high fantasy, but it'll also be fairy tale. There's kind of a middle ground there with Narnia, and I kind of want to do that middle ground. Um, but those are going to be the four original worlds. I'm going to try and write in those as much as possible. But the fifth world, I realized that original stories do not always catch on very quickly. So I've thought about this, and I really there's some things that I'm very very much a fan of. Now I used to make uh, a lot of people know them as AMVs, like animated music videos, where I recut a lot of TV shows or whatever and put them to music, and some of them can be funny. But most of mine were very dramatic, trying to fit the lyrics with the emotions of the characters in the show to tell that story in a very condensed music video form. And so I can't do that anymore because of copyright and YouTube and remixing laws as such as they are. I mean, I feel like if you can remix something enough to make it its own thing, it doesn't matter where you got the content as long as you're not making money off of it. But who am I to make the laws in this nation? Until I'm elected to office one day, who knows? Um, but I really still want to do something fan oriented. Me as a fan of these things that have been so instrumental in my life. Uh, but I'm not sure. I wasn't sure. I am now. I I wasn't sure what I could do without being copyright ridden and YouTube and blah blah blah. Uh, if you hear other sounds, then it's because I'm in a car recording in the dark, sitting in my driveway. But any which way, the the idea that I have for fandom stuff is this: I want to recreate rather, in this audiobooky, storybooky kind of format, um, some of my favorite scenes from my favorite shows, my favorite movies, my favorite worlds and stories. Might even, maybe not. The book stuff is a little bit harder because books are just text. But when you take something from a visual medium and then actually write out the narration of what the characters are doing, as well as using the dialogue from it, I think that's a good way to go. I'll put my own music and sound effects with it, probably. I haven't decided yet what I'm gonna do music and sound effects. I may just get to the point where I'm just doing more acting than actual editing on most of these, and then like the edited ones will be like premium content or something on down the road. Not the fan stuff so much, but the what do you call my original stuff might end up being, premium for sale. Maybe some extra scenes in there that I won't release on the podcast, etc. Um, but that's just me talking about my goals and stuff. What I want to accomplish with this more than anything, though, is I want to create a podcast that people can listen to and get engrossed in an ongoing story and really enjoy themselves. Also, just to be inspired by storytelling. Not, that I think I'm the greatest storyteller ever, but I do think that I've have a grasp of it, and that's all thanks to God. God's given me a connection with characters and settings and using these things to send a message. And honestly, I feel way more comfortable sending a message to someone through a story than I do with regular plain speech. And that's kind of an odd thing. I realize that. And I'm realizing more and more that creatives, even in Christian circles, there's a lot of oddness that goes with them, that people don't always know how to deal with. And some people get afraid of it. And, my whole thing is, unless I'm sinning, don't don't say I'm doing wrong by being weird or odd. It's who God made me to be. Um, and it's not taking me away from him, it's bringing me closer to him to be this way. So, with that being said, I'm leading into something that I read. My good friend Judy Rogers, she makes some fantastic music. She knows who I am. I say good friend. We're acquaintances, but we're uh let's put it this way. She sang at my mom and dad's wedding. And so there's connections and stuff there through church and all that. She posted something on Facebook that really made me want to come out and record this, and really made me want to start getting serious about my recording and getting serious about my writing. Um, there was there's a girl in Colorado. She grew up in Colorado. She go around places in Los Angeles and California, all over. Very interesting, eccentric, beautiful girl. Her name was Zena Lar, and she was a Christian. And I say was because last year, in November, she died. She passed away. She was climbing a mountain, and they believe a rock fell on her and crushed her skull. Um, but Xena was a very, very interesting person. Let me give you the visual picture of this person. Skinny as a rail, kind of a bony chin, uh, and all the time she wore all kinds of crazy steampunk costumes that she created for herself. I'm talking leather, peacock feathers, very modest, but still amazing. All kinds of goggles. She always has some kind of goggles, and just some amazing, amazing works of art. Not only did she wear amazing works of art, but she created amazing works of art. She created amazing animations. She was a stop motion animator. Uh, she did all kinds of just incredible animations and incredible art projects. And she said she had what she called CCD, creative compulsive disorder. She could not stop creating things. And there's a video on Vimeo. I'll have a link in the show notes. I guess it'll be. Okay, I'm going to say this right now, and we're going to make this happen. Show notes. Go to theremnant.net/remnant podcast/1. And that will be the show notes for this episode. Awesome. Now, um, she, the Xena Lar, she created, she was on the cusp, from what I read and from what I can see from her family, of possibly getting into Jim Henson Studios to help animate some stuff. She worked on several projects that were on a lower level with some other companies and things with puppetry and animation, and really, truly an amazing person with amazing talent. And she said, I'm paraphrasing here, but she said that as far as her clothes go, if she could bring, her whole goal in life was to bring art to people, bring beauty to people. And if she could do that with what she wore, she was going to do that with what she wore. The way she talked, the way she was so incredibly lifelike and happy, and the way she talked about how cool robots were and how cool this was and that was, and how much she liked nature and all these sorts of things, really, really hit me hard. It really hit me hard. And hearing that kind of encouragement, I realized my whole entire goal and purpose is very similar to hers. I want to bring beauty and art to people. And I'm not good at drawing. I'm not good at cinematography. I can film stuff, but I'm not good at cinematography. I'm not good at a whole lot of things. I can edit stuff till the day is done, but honestly, and I can write stuff okay. I'm not great at writing, when it's just sitting down and typing or handwritten. But what I can do is I can talk and I can tell stories and I can write stories in my head. They have a hard time coming out usually, and I've recently been getting over that. I've been able to write a lot better by typing, and I've gotten really good at writing through speaking my thoughts first and then editing them. And Dragon Naturally Speaking has been a godsend in that regard. I've had stories in my head, original stories, since I was early teens, and I really want to bring them out. I want people to experience things through these stories and experience truths that God has shown me in my own personal life that I can't express through anything less than a story. And so, the Five Worlds of Joshua Ling podcast should be starting soon. And you should subscribe to that. I'll have links and stuff in show notes as soon as I can get them going. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of work getting this podcast up, and I have to get it submitted to iTunes and all this kind of stuff, but I'm done playing. It's time to tell stories. It's time to live my life the way God wants me to live my life. I'm tired of listening to the criticism that is unfounded biblically. Once again, if you can show me biblically that I'm doing something wrong, then show me. Show me. And I will change my ways. But there is nothing wrong with creating. This is exactly what God wants me to do. I'm going to continue working at my job. I'm not quitting that. I still have to make money. I realize that. But I need to do something. I need to follow my calling. And I know this is my calling. I know in my heart this is my calling. Whether I'm not saying specifically podcasting even. I'm not even specifically saying that. I know that my stories are my calling. Does that mean I'm ever going to make the majority of my living on it? I don't know. God knows. But I know He wants me to do this. And so, with that, I will go ahead and wrap up this episode. And I want you all to say a prayer for Zena's family, Zena Lars' family. And I'll be contacting them soon. I wanna thank them for the video they put together and the everything that they've done, and bringing Xena into the world. I appreciate it. And Xena, I cannot wait to meet you on the other side. It's going to be a special, special day for me. Obviously for other reasons, but also for you. And if anyone wants to contact me, they can contact me at Joshua the Christian K9, the letter K, number 9, at gmail.com. Or you can find me on Twitter at jchristiank9 or on Facebook at facebook.com/joshua.ling.5. And I'm on Google Plus as well, but you know how Google Plus is. I'll give you the short URL, gplus.to/jchristiank9. Letter K, number 9. Hit me up. I'm interested in talking to just about anybody. So hit me up about any thoughts, anything. And I will see you all next time. Ow!